As always, it's the Devon. Happy Friday the 13th. As y'all already know, we're going to get into this magical moment of reflection. For a lot of us, it's been crazy already. It's been wild. But we need to learn how to do when we get to these chaotic sessions is to embrace the retrogrades. Just like anything else in your life, it's about embracing that reflection. Pipe zombie. As I'm sitting here working on this music, the music should have started when I wanted it to, but it didn't. And they got me a little upset. But yeah, as we come into ourselves and we get into these higher levels, we have to understand that the things that reflect the most in your lives, the most chaotic things, I said this earlier, the most chaotic things that happen in your life those are the deepest reflections of something that's inside of you. The things that are making you angry, the things that are making you upset, the things that are getting to you the most, those are the very things that we have to start looking into. And a lot of that's been happening over and over and over again as we're getting used to this realm. We're getting back into this, like, breaking away from humanity, breaking away from the things that no longer suit us, tapping into our higher selves. A lot of us get stuck on, yeah, I'm a god, I'm a goddess, I'm a witch, I'm a warlock. I'm all these things, but you're still trying to be human. It becomes secondary. We have to shift from this secondary thought process of how we're thinking with these things and make that our primary. The thing that we're looking at a lot of the times, we're using them as, like, everything's becoming secondary. You, on one end, want to be this great, you want to be seen as this greatness, and on the same end, you're still getting mad at the things that humans get mad at. That's not you no more. That battle between yourself that's happening every single day, that's what it is. That's what it is. That stuff that you're getting upset with every single day, that's what it is. That's what it is. You're coming to a point. We're coming to an energy. We're coming to a space in ourselves where the things that we were gotten used to, the things that we were accustomed to, no longer work on the level that we're going to. The things that we are accustomed to happening, the things that we are accustomed to, none of that shit work. None of that shit is meant for you on this level anymore. You're not at that level anymore. You're not in that space anymore. We are at a space, we are at a time, we are at a whole entire function where I start kind of getting parched. Now we're at an entire function. I wrote down what I wanted to key in on that part. This week on my podcast, I did the eulogy. And on the eulogy, I put out some strong ass information. I put out some powerful jewels on truly letting go. Similar to the moon, like we've all seen that meme over and over again. It goes through its phases, but every morning the sun rises. The moon is not worried about what's happening behind it. It's not worrying about its waning. It's not worrying about its crescent. It's not worried about the new moon. All it's focused on is the energy that it's going into now at that moment in time. That's all the moon does. That's all that you should be doing. Everything outside of you is a reflection, of your inner. Is a reflection of your inner. The things that are most prominent in your life are the things that you're not tapping into. One thing that I thought about earlier today was, I've been thinking about it for a while now. I still see posts, and it's like you can tell the level people are at by what they post. There's still people that are. This is one thing y'all let. This is one thing y'all let go of time, age. You gotta let go of time and age. Time doesn't exist. It's all about alignment. It's all about alignment and how you create in your environment. So, because I see people in their 50s and in their 60s still in that niche of the revolution. They're still in the niche of the revolution. Rosa Parks sat on a seat on the bus, and their entire catalog, the content that they allow into their mind has to be based off of that. Has to be based off of the freedom fighters and the struggle. And then you always hear things like separate. These are certain trigger words, like a trigger word of, at this point in time, you should feel self-entitled. You should feel self-entitled. You should have a feeling of being self-entitled, and this is why. Out of everybody in your family, everybody that's around you that is coming into their awakening, coming into their consciousness, you're the only one that got that information. You're the only one that gets it. You're the only one that resonates with. And most importantly, you're the only one willing to step into that dark. That's the most important. You're the only one that's really will step into that dark. So you should have a sense of self-entitlement. We've been given this not being worthy. And I read this when last night did my moon ritual, my releasing my old energy, my old self. And it was going in alignment with the synergy of the synchronization of me doing the eulogy. And this is what it read. This is the part that I use. It says, to my younger self, I'm sorry you went through that. I'm sorry that you made choices that hurt you. I'm sorry that you believe that you were unworthy. I want you to know that you made the choices you did with the feelings and limited experience that you had in the time. You did your best with what you knew. Don't worry. I'm taking over now. A new chapter has begun. I promise that I will look after us. We're in this together. I love you. The thing that I always say, especially about self-forgiveness or that forgiving energy, forgiving yourself, you have to let go the humanity aspect of you, or all of the burdens that you took on, all of the choices that you made while you were asleep. All of those wrong turns, even some of the positive things that you did and the negative things, those are things that you have to let go of in order to tap into this type of energy. The biggest thing that you have to do is that's the first key to shadow work, is forgiving yourself. You're not forgiving yourself for closure to do more of the same. Any self-help book that talks about don't go back to this, don't allow someone back to, the only thing that you should be able to look for is change. The only apology that you should accept is a change in behavior. Look yourself in the mirror and say that to yourself. The only thing that you should accept is a changed behavior. The only thing you should accept is the evolution of yourself into your higher self. There's the only thing at this time, the vibration that you're on, the energy that you're tapped into, that level, that knowledge, that energy that you're invoking as you're evoking your demons and you're invoking your angels and you're evoking that energy into yourself, that's not meant for anybody else. You're going to start noticing, especially towards this end of this decade, that that's no longer you. How many of us have been through, I remember my first stages in my first awakenings. And even in my awakenings now, they're more mental than they are physical, shown to me physically. In your beginning of your awakening, there was anger, there was depression, there was sadness. There was this state of being that the shit was heavy. It got heavy because you started accepting that responsibility. See, it's easy on an exoteric standpoint, that from the exoteric standpoint, you release control of yourself and put your life in the hands of others, or you put your death rather in the hands of others. You put the prolonging of your death in the hands of others. You put the prolonging of you getting upright on the hands of others. You put everything on the hands of others. Therefore, the same hand that feeds you can be the same hand that is going to starve you. The same hand that feeds you becomes the same hand that starves you. It gets deeper. I'm going to start this with this story. I remember my first steps into, and then we're going to get into, I'm going to tell this story, then we're going to get into the Hermetic laws, and then we're going to get the Hermetic law, the laws from the Hermetica and the Gnostic text. Everything connects, and I'm going to bring the connection together to understand how the full power and encompassing of the energy works. I remember when I first came into my consciousness, it wasn't this miraculous moment that I was expecting, that you see that movie star magic. My first steps in the consciousness, what I knew I was different. When I was little, there was things that I was going through or things that I saw that just didn't never make sense to me. There was the things of religion, because I came from a home where I had a Catholic father figure, and I had the good old Baptist mother. Love them to death to this day, but to love from afar. There were things that were said to me over and over and over again that didn't make sense. As a child, I was always inquisitive. That doesn't quite make sense. And I was asking these questions to myself, and I was like, every time I asked the question, it wasn't on the premise of why am I feeling this way? It was more on the premise of why am I not feeling the way they're feeling about this? Why do I not feel obligated to follow this stream of thought or doctrine? Why do I feel more tired than alive and revived when I did go to church? These are those alpha moments. I remember some of the times when I would be around my mother, I'd be around my grandmother, who transitioned in 2005. And things that she said then make more sense now, and it made more sense in my first transition into my awakening, my first death. And then when I was able to actually contact her, everything that she said, the things that she said, this is the most important thing I'll tell you, like even an elder that seems the most dead can give you some of the most impactful knowledge into your existence. When she was released and transitioned, she was free to do what she wanted to do. She was free to speak as she needed to speak. She had to play a role. The key to tapping into your power is understanding your role. That's that major key. You have to understand your role in this. But going back to the story, I remember fast forward to, we'll say 2012. We'll fast forward to 2012. In 2012, I remember I went to one of the little, it's like a small local church down here. This is after I came back from New York and I came down to where I'm at now in North Carolina. And I went to this church and I always remember them sticking their hands out and saying, allow the energy to come over you, allow Jesus to know you're in the room, and all these things like this. I remember standing there and I would stick my hand out and I wouldn't feel shit. I stick my hand out, wouldn't feel shit. And I stand there and I'm looking at all these people around me. And they all just nodding back and forth. And I'm sitting there looking like, am I doing something wrong? Why am I not getting the same vibe that they're getting? I remember all of the conversations that I had with myself. I had a lot of conversations with myself. They didn't realize how, and I was always taught, you were little, you always told having conversation, like if you talk to yourself and you answer that you crazy. But then I remember I hear someone talking, having that conversation with good old Jesus, Allah, whoever it may be, whoever they pray to. And then I remember that people are coming to you. People don't come to me like that anymore. And that's one big thing that I always notice. A lot of people, when they're coming into their spiritual side, the reason the things that keep coming into your life is because you haven't broke the barrier yet. There's something there you ain't understanding yet. You're still on that vibration. That's why it can phase you. Because if you weren't on that vibration, you wouldn't even notice it. You'll be aware of it, but you wouldn't notice it when it happened. You'll be like, you'll laugh at it. You would just laugh at the shit. But going deeper into myself, I never felt right. I remember a biggest part of me going into my subconscious when I first started doing the shadow work to myself. One of the biggest things that I got involved in was the arguments with my pops. My pops would raise hell literally hour after hour, lecturing about God, lecturing about Jesus being the Savior, lecturing me about so many different things. But then there will be a constant contradiction, because then we would have a talk about financial literacy. The information that was in schools is not the truth. But then he always based it back to God. He always based it back to Jesus is the Savior. He's the only one. Nothing else is going to work outside of that. And those were a lot of the things that I found myself trying to fit. I said, maybe if I fake it long enough, it'll start happening for me. So the psychological program, ramifications of the psychological program that was on myself was literally, I kept my hair cut short. Never had much facial hair. Never had more than a goatee and a beard. You wouldn't have seen me wearing gauges. I didn't have earrings. All of the stuff that I have that I doing now, I wouldn't wear. 4 or 5 years ago, just going back that far, you would not see me with my hair locked up. You would not see me speaking as I speak. Even though when I first started speaking at this level to myself, because that first talk you should have was with yourself, it shook me to my core when I actually started understanding my dreams and everything that was coming into alignment with myself. Now I'm at a space where the healing And it's a continuous. Healing isn't you heal yourself and then you can go forward. The healing, just like acquiring that knowledge, everything is everything. That healing is continuous. It's a continuing act. That acquiring that knowledge, that applying that knowledge, once you learn something, learn it again. You're going to apply it to something different. Once you learn something at that level, learn it again. We cannot get stuck in this. That's why a lot of us are stuck in that Afrocentric movement, that Black Power movement. We're stuck in this movement and we're not going anywhere. You're getting stuck in a movement. Talking about Black Lives Matter. I got to care for my people. I got to put my energy in for my people. It's about the people. It's about the children. It's about these things, this, and that. All you're doing is appeasing your ego. Because what are you really doing? Other than another Black Power poster or another slogan or another march or another protest or another rally or another meeting or we need a Black leader. We need all these things. All this is programming of the same shit. That this is all programming of the exoteric standpoint. You're following an exoteric standpoint. You want a leader. Therefore, in your mind, you're telling yourself you still need a savior. The only one that can save you is you. Now, as you rise into your vibration, you're going to meet others that are on that level, the same level as you, and then you can invoke that energy to move forward. But you have to let go of this esoteric thought process. In order to let go of the esoteric, in order to understand the esoteric, the within, you must understand the exoteric of the things that are going on outside of you and why they're happening and why they seem to be happening more rapidly and why the distractions seem to keep getting stronger. Now the distractions, all up and down my timeline, all I was seeing stuff about Lizzo. Until I looked on my timeline, I didn't know who the fuck Lizzo was. Still don't know who the fuck Lizzo is. I did not take the time to research who the fuck Lizzo was. It's a distraction. Why does that matter to me? Some chick, some plus size queen went to the Staples Center with a shirt on, with her ass out, wearing a thong. How does that do anything for me? What does that do for me? That's that hard on yourself mentality that you have to have on yourself. That has shit to do with me. That didn't make me any money. On the lower levels, that didn't make me any money. That didn't give me any knowledge. That didn't do anything. All it did was cause an uproar. Now, you can look at it from the spiritual standpoint of being seen. You have to be seen in some way, shape, or form. You have to accommodate. The esoteric will leave you into this control of having to be seen. I broke that down in Generations Lust last week. You're stuck in a space. Yeah, I said that same thing. Like when I saw that just like the Nick and Eminem shit, I was like, okay. If you want to go back and forth, like I looked at that. I remember I was looking at the Nick and M thing, and I was like, a clip came up about the Breakfast Club, talked about Charlamagne the God was talking about who the M really battled and all this thing into that aspect. And you're looking like, this is really, when you look at it, you understand how mundane this shit is. So why would you want to save it? These niggas are gonna be niggas, bitches are gonna be bitches. The white man's gonna be the white man. They're all playing their part. They're playing their part. They're playing their role in this script. You're somewhere higher. But you have to get out of this thought process of, because I give you a thought like this. When you sitting there and you hustling, like take the thought process in your mind as you think about things like this. And I put that thought process in there like this. If you really think about it, you start laughing at these things that are happening over and over and over again. You start laughing at them. I had a conversation the other day with a coworker, and her exact words to me were, "You've been getting reckless with your mouth a lot lately, a lot more. You're not the same guy when you started at this. You're not the same guy when you started. You're not the same. You're different. You're speaking. It seems reckless." You're not caring about others' feelings. And I looked her in her eyes, gave her that little smirk because I have that knowing. And I looked at her and I was like, "You're right, I don't care about your feelings." And I was like, "Hold up, wait, pause. Before you react emotionally," hit her with some of the psychology. If I cared about your feelings, I wouldn't tell you anything that you need to hear. I have a compassion. There's a difference between compassion and caring. Caring is appeasing your ego, while compassion is over the greater. As a God, as a higher spiritual entity, we are coping with the compassion of having a human experience. When you care about something, you will mute and omit certain things from the conversation that are needed. When you are caring for somebody, you will omit the truth. You'll sit there and tell somebody, if one of your friends look busted from head to toe, they nails ain't done, they sandals, they ankles is ashy, they fucking lace front ain't right. I call them hoodies, because most of the chicks that I've seen wear those nowadays look like they got on fucking hoodies. They ain't looking right. You'll say, "Girl, you killing them," because you'll allow to appease their ego because you care about their feelings. I have a compassion for the truth to be told to you. So if I sit here and talk to you and tell you, "Yo, what the fuck is wrong with your eyebrows? Why like you got a big ass Nike swoop on the top of your head?" I look at a lot of the things like that, like, damn, that was mean. You shouldn't have said that to them. If you weren't gonna say it, if they man wasn't gonna say it, they homegirl, they best friend ain't gonna say it, who the fuck's gonna say it? That's the level that you're at. You letting go of that morality and that humanity and that ego have the ability to speak light, to speak truth. That's your ability. That is your strength. That is your superpower. That is one of your many superpowers. Once you invoke that energy first into yourself as you're doing your reflections, once you invoke that type of energy, you notice your environment changes dramatically. It's doing what it's supposed to do. But what about my friends? Fuck your friends. But what about my family? Fuck your family. if they cannot support you in bettering yourself in the most positive way, for fear of losing it, most times people will not support you because they will lose their grasp on you. People will not fully support you because they will lose their grasp in order to feed from you. The biggest reflection of that on this realm, at this level, on the vibration that is below you, I'm going to keep saying it's below you. It's beneath me now. It's beneath me. Is getting mad at somebody calling you a nigga. At this point in time, all the knowledge that you gained up to understand that nigga came from naga, which came from nigoose, and it goes back even further. We'll get into that later on. We'll get into that in a minute. When they're once you understand the spell, you can now evoke that power. So when somebody calls you a nigga now, you should feel more powerful automatically, because they're invoking your yes, give me that power, give me that shit. When they throw that negative shit at you, that's the shit that you should be taking in. Take that shit in, feed off of it, because that negative is going to propel the positive, because they can't get to you. All they have are words now. The worst thing they can do is release you from your physical form. And if you understand that death is nothing but the perfecting, or that little black dot is perfecting, and then you're being released, your energy being released. Once you understand it, it's like, okay, cool. What's the worst you can do? End my death sentence? What's the worst thing you can do? End my death sentence? All right, cool, bet. I don't care. Once you tap into these thought processes of your energy, it takes you to a whole nother fucking level. You're getting stuck on the back and forth with yourself and the reflections of yourself telling you, you need to come to church. When the last time you been to church? When the last time you went to see your mama? When the last time you went to go see your grandmother? You know she miss you. I'll call her and tell her I love her. Tell him I was thinking about him. Cool. Go forward. Because where you're at now, you can't allow that shit to tether to you. And now I'm gonna spit out these hermetic laws, the 7 hermetic laws, and then we're gonna tie those into the thought process. We're gonna tie that into the lecture of understanding it. Materialism. First law of the hermetic laws is mentalism. The universe is the mind. The mind is all, the universe is mental. Correspondence, as above, so below. Vibration, everything vibrates, nothing rests. Polarity, everything has poles and opposites, negative and positive. Rhythm, nothing is linear, everything has ebb and flow. Everything flows, everything moves. Gender, everything has a male and a female component, or has the masculine and the feminine energy. Cause and effect, the 7th law. For every cause has an effect, and every effect has a cause. I'm going to cue that up. What we have to understand is in the reflecting of ourselves and understanding our energy and understanding ourselves, you can hear somebody say, I actually had somebody say that to me today. They said, I don't understand why I'm always in a bad mood. My mood's always going up and down. It's been that way since I remembered. I was like, I can give you method that can actually help you. It's a more intense meditation. And I gave them the candle. I gave them the black candle in front of the mirror. I gave them the candle mirror. I gave them the candle method when you sit in front of the mirror, dark space, mirror, black candle to reverse or to invoke. And you stare at the flame of the candle you stare into the mirror, you stare into the flame, reflection of the flame in the mirror, and you stare at it and you allow everything. As you are emptying yourself, you allow everything to come out, and then you start to see the shadows of the things that you need to work on. And the exact words from this person were, I don't want to go deep into there. I don't want to go into my subconscious. I'd rather leave it all buried. And I was like, my exact words were, to each their own. To each their own. But the first step that a lot of people won't take is looking into themselves. Is that moment of looking into yourselves. Because we fear having this control. We fear losing control. Because we face it, you haven't had control this entire fucking time. Because if you had control this entire fucking time, if you understood how much control that you do have, how much power you have, you wouldn't let go of your control in the first place. A lot of the times we get stuck and then shit starts to bleed out. One of the things that I've noticed that has kind of bled out in a lot of the conversations that I have, a lot of consultations that I have, are the unhealed childhood traumas and how they manifest into your everyday life. Fixing others, people pleasing, codependency, external validation, lives on high alert, fear of abandonment, deprioritizes own needs to prove themselves, tolerates abusive behavior, attracts narcissistic partners, and difficulty setting boundaries. Niggas, that's habit of shit that we do every single fucking day. And then you wonder where it came from. You have to understand the stem. You have to understand the root of anything in order to get, you have to understand the root to understand the strange fruit that's on that tree that you continue to eat from. One of the biggest things that a lot of people get, one of the biggest things that are on that list of the things that I looked at is that attracts narcissistic partners. And I took that from the exoteric standpoint and I put it into the esoteric standpoint. The narcissistic partners is not necessarily a friend, family member, someone close to you. A partner in that aspect, I'm going to break it down, is anything that connects to you on that same vibration. Or on that correspondence, rather. You're attracting narcissistic archetypes on the pole of you being the opposite of it. So the narcissistic archetype is a negative archetype when looked at in a certain space. The narcissist. Full of themselves, use emotion to control, to manipulate. Manipulation, the list goes on and on and on. Most of the people that come from a religious standpoint are some of the most narcissistic entities that you will ever meet. They're some of the most narcissistic entities that you'll ever meet. It took me a long time to realize that I had a lot of narcissistic traits in trying to be like my pops. And in order to try to like fit into that narrative of being the good old Christian, the good old God-fearing child, I developed a lot of narcissistic traits that are basically all of the esoteric teachings to bond and control. For me to tell somebody at this point in time, it don't make sense to me anymore. But for me to sit there and be like, yo, so if you don't love God, you can't love me. So I'm basing my love. You're basing your love on the love of something outside of you. You're basing my love to you based on something that you put your faith in. And you'll argue me up and down to say that I'm all of these things when I'm simply, that's your perspective of yourself. When people are speaking from a narcissistic tone or speaking from that aspect of themselves, they're projecting themselves onto you. They'll project themselves onto you. That reflection for most of us is something that we need to see the most, because it takes us to an aspect of ourselves to a higher level. And I'm going to break that down. We'll have people around us that, because you don't do the things that they do, or walk that they walk, or talk the shit that they talk, or you're not gossiping, or you're not in that energy, that Lizzo shit, the Eminem shit, they're going to say things like, you always hear the thing, you ain't black, or you ain't black, because that's the archetype of what they think black is, because they fell into the niche of the stereotypes. The next time you hear that shit, to release that energy from yourself, guess what you need to say? You right, I'm not black. We got to stop battling over these mundane bullshit. I don't have time to argue over mundane shit. You shouldn't have time to argue or to debate over shit that can be researched, for one. You shouldn't have time or energy to align yourself into mundane conversations talking about the same shit. You shouldn't have time for it. If you have time for it, you need to give yourself some more work. That's similar to if the connect keeps fronting you work, that means you ain't taking enough. If your life keep giving you more and more weight, that means you ain't doing enough work. If the same shit keeps coming up in your life, that means you ain't putting in any fucking work. If the same drama keeps occurring in your life, up and down, that keeps tethering you, it keeps tearing you apart, you're not putting in the work on the shit that you're seeing. It's showing you, the universe is literally showing you what the fuck you need to work on. This racism bullshit, if it's still phasing you that somebody can call you the N-word and you get upset, you ain't putting in the fucking work. If you're sitting here and in 2019, blackface can emotionally get to you, but then every time they show you blackface, this is a good one. Every time they show you something about blackface, Biggest Monkey in the Jungle, blackface, anything regarding blackface, they go back in the day and they show you every motherfucker that's done blackface. Their arrogance is your way out. They show you that's what they do on this level. They do shit based on lower vibrational shit. So that's what they do on this level. So you coming in, I'm gonna change things for my people. The fuck are you changing? On this level, you cannot change anything other than yourself. On this level, you cannot do anything but learn from it and move on. Stop holding on to the memories. Stop holding on to the old for fear that if you do something different, something's going to change. That's the whole fucking point of evolving. But what about but what about the people? Fuck the people. It's about you. If they are tapped in, then they'll follow the trail. They'll follow the trail. They'll follow the examples that you left. That's your work. The work you put in is going to leave examples. It's going to leave those pieces behind you, them little breadcrumbs. If the motherfuckers are hungry enough, they're going to follow. If they're hungry enough, they'll follow fucking suit. If not, leave them back in the past. Let the dead lay with the dead. I can't say that shit enough. Let the dead lay with the dead. One of the biggest things that we seem to get stuck in is trying to fit in. And I broke this down on the podcast. One of the biggest things that we need to understand is nothing of us is of this vibration. Everything at this level that we are in right now at this point in time is of us. It is a slowed down version of us. It's been slowed down. We are at this level to better understand it because, give you an example. If electricity or energy is all around us, the vibration is all around us. The only way you can understand that vibration is by encapsulating it into something that harnesses it so you can better understand it. On the exoteric standpoint of this, they took all of your information, they took all of our divine knowledge, flipped it all around, put an exoteric stamp, put images to it to see everything go outwards, because that was their understanding of you. All of these religious texts are understandings of you. It's all understandings. It's all the understanding of you. All of these books that have been written, and it will continue to be written, different versions of the Bible, different versions of the Torah, all these fucking books, they're all to encapsulate the book that they'll never be able to read. Basically, the books that are being written are the table of contents to you. You're the book you're the most prized book in the possession. You're the most prized book in possession. The Book of Eli, the movie when Denzel Washington was the blind dude that had the Bible that was in Braille, that the occult symbolism behind that movie was he was the key to understanding it all. He was the book that they could not find. He was the only one that could read the book. It was only written in Braille. He was the one that basically they did an inverted thought process and put it to the same thought process. In the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king. They basically flipped it and they said the man that is blind. They basically gave you the man that is blind, the man that sees nothing, the man that sees in the dark has the true sight, because the dark is the true light. Very deep. These are those things. When you're looking for signs, when you're looking for symbols, everything that comes before and after the sign is a marker of the sign. So if you're seeing the angel numbers, the 111s, the 1111s, the 1212s, the 333s, the 555s, the 555s, the 444s, the 999s, and all these numbers. You're seeing these syncs of numbers lining up in those numbers before you started seeing those numbers, right after you started seeing those numbers, and when those numbers seem to dwindle away, focus in between those numbers. That's that moment that you need to have. That's the moment you have the alpha thought. Also, another big thing I wanted to put out is that the levels. The level that you're at is meant for you. The knowledge that you tap into is meant for you. It's not meant for anybody else at that time. It's meant for you. The one thing that I notice in our community that we've always done is you'll always hear somebody be like, oh, that nigga trying to lose weight. Or that motherfucker trying to get healthy. We have, based on the slave mentality, we don't big up ourselves. We don't big up each other or give congratulations or give the shade to each other based on I want you to do good, but not better than me. That same thing, if you're not understanding what's happening, that shit bleeds through everything else you do. So the same thing with this information and this knowledge. Instead of interpreting it as I might not be doing something right, understand that you're in the right space at the right alignment. If someone can share with you something that happened to them that was so graciously great, don't take it in the interpretation of why didn't I get that first? You're in alignment. Big up them. Clap for them. Say, hell yeah, I like that shit. I love hearing that type of shit. Because what you're doing is this is a reprogramming of your subconscious mind, once again, that you're taking your subconscious mind to. That's the shit we need to start looking out for. Because your subconscious mind, remember, records everything that you see. It records everything as truth. So if I can tell you a wild ass fucking dream or a wild ass fucking vision that I had, your ego will shut it down, but like, man, that nigga crazy. That nigga on some shit. Instead, tell your ego, yo, shut the fuck up. We need to listen to this. You control your shit. You control your mind. That's the power. You can't control nothing outside of you. You ain't got control of your own self. Yo, fuck that shit. Nigga, let's listen to that shit. That shit was fucking dope. And you'll notice that shit starts changing in your life. The vibration that you're trying to get to, you'll start reaching to. You'll start wanting to do things for yourself. It's all about taking responsibility for the things in your life. We're going to look at understanding. We're going to break down mentalism. The universe is the mind. The mind is all and everything is mental. And we're going to look at some of these childhood traumas and break them down to understand how your mentalities that you came up on, you were indoctrinated in, and how they've manifested in your adult life. One of the biggest things, if we're not working on ourselves in the aspect of understanding, the hell I just said? Everything happens in your mind first. You'll notice people that always want to, and this is a generalized statement, you'll always notice that the people that always want to be in everybody's thing, always want to say they want to help people and bless their heart, they always caring about people, are some of the most hurt people. Are some of the most hurt people. A lot of the examples of that was Robin Williams, and he always making other people laugh, but he was depressed inside. Here's something that I bet you didn't notice. When a person gets to a certain point in themselves and they realize a truth and is not able to be handled, it reflects in their eyes. So the biggest reflection that we need to look at when looking into fixing others is what we're reflecting, what we're projecting is in fixing others, we're fixing a part of ourselves. The things that we always harp on others to try to fix them are things or something that we didn't fix on ourselves. And this is coming from the aspect of you haven't done any of your healing yet. So a person that is always hard on somebody about certain aspects of their life, ask yourself this question. Yo, that's the same thing about talking about looking out for your strong friends. Looking out for your strong, always look out for the strong friend. At the end of the day, in that aspect of itself to you rising into yourself, rising into your higher self, fixing others will have you stuck in that Bible belt of information of everybody's everybody, so everybody deserves a chance. That's been reflected into every kid at the game, at the football, at the Little League game gets a trophy. That reflects into the inclusion trigger. That reflects into the never forget 9/11 trigger. That reflects into the Black Panther movie, and the Black Panther movie was nothing more than appeasing your ego about giving one black man was the villain and the good guy was very docile, but at the end, didn't nobody notice that T'Challa carried on Killmonger's thoughts? You got to shift. You got to shift. What we're getting stuck in nowadays is not shifting. At this point in time, it is imperative to look within yourself even more. This cycle that is our last full moon of the decade is the utmost important moment of, guess what? We've been through 10 years. What have you done in 10 years? What have you done since the year 2000? Wait, did I say that right? What have you done over this last decade? What have you learned over this last decade? What are you willing to let go of since this last decade? What have you done? What's been shown to us is most motherfuckers are still in the same damn still stuck in the same thought process, same boat. Everything you needed to be shown has been shown to you. What are you going to do with it? I often use the analogy, if your man is cheating and you look inside his phone, what are you going to do with the information? Are you going to be mad, ask a bunch of questions, have angry sex, listen to the promise that he's going to do right that time and go right back to him? Or are you going to step out of it? You're going to walk out the door? The biggest problem for us is people pleasing. That leads into that people pleasing. I'm not here to please people. I'm not here to make people happy. I'm not here to make people feel good about themselves. All that shit should be a reflection that you should already be doing to yourself. That's the biggest thing about self-love and that self-reflecting aspect, that self-validation aspect. You don't need anybody to tell you anything about you other than you. The only time during spaces like this where I give out that ideology, I give out the methodology and the breakdowns is based on my the interpretation that I've taken in when I took the knowledge in and what it released and unlocked within me. And I'm speaking from a level of knowing because I've been to that space. I went through it enough times repetitively that I can now give it to the masses. I can now give it to the masses. I can give you that methodology. I can give you that teaching. There's things that happen in my life every single fucking day. Example, the other morning, I woke up and it was raining outside. It was raining hard as hell. Had to catch the bus. I walked out to the bus stop, had my umbrella, had my umbrella, and I stood there. I was like, Bobby Hemmett popped into my head. And I remember during one of the lectures, he was talking about, niggas, y'all can control the fucking weather. And I sat there, and it was raining. It was coming down. And I sat there, I closed my eyes, and I visualized a clear black sky because it was still nighttime. It was still dark outside. I visualized a clear black sky. It was still chilly, but it was a clear black sky. And I visualized that in my mind. And I did that for about 3 minutes, just standing there. And then I opened my eyes. And the rain had stopped. I was like, Ashe to me. Because I did not want to stand out there in that rain. That's the level of power that you have based on just your thoughts. Now, what we get stuck on is trying to make other people believe what we see, believe what we can do. I don't give a shit what somebody else believes that I have seen or that I have been through, that I've noticed. It's for me, more for me. You know, like when you were a little kid and you took the candy, more for me. Oh, you don't want it? More for me. That's that aspect of that childlike mentality that you need to have for yourself. They aren't on board with you? Fuck them. They're not meant. Stop trying to please others and emptying yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot take yourself any higher from an empty cup, from an empty space, from an empty chalice, from an empty vessel. You cannot give to others outside of you anything more than what you have from inside of you. People can only see the depth of you based on how deep they see into themselves. People only can see as deep as what you're putting out there is as deep as they looked into themselves. Stop trying to let other motherfuckers into your life because all they're doing is drowning. Motherfuckers stepping into your life, and the reason that they're so unrested and they can't handle being around you is because they're drowning. And they want you to drown with them. The motherfuckers that are now at the lower level than you, it's beneath you. Them motherfuckers want to see you drown. Because all they understand is drowning. All they understand is struggle. All they understand is pain. All they understand is being fucking inebriated 23 hours, 25 hours out of a 24-hour period of time. So they can't see what you see. They can't go where you're going. The only thing your mother ever wanted for you, those of us that had that strong, whatever maternal figure you had in your life, all they ever wanted was what's best for you. When you were younger, when you were in their care, They wanted what's best for you based on what they knew. At a point in time, you have to understand that you have to let go of what you thought was best for you, because now that shit's hurting you. The shit that you thought was best for you now is hurting you. Those overthinking thoughts, remember, you think it happens. So if you're thinking that somebody's doing some shit, some outlandish shit, and you put that thought process into your mind, guess what? Motherfuckers doing outlandish shit. And then everything you do is going to be navigated based on what you thought that person was doing. How many dead conversations are you having? Here's a funny thing that I just thought. Here's the funny thing. You talk to the dead every single day. You evoke energy from the dead every single day. Because as being awakened, you're living. Everybody else is still dead. They're still asleep. So every conversation you have with those dead people in your life, guess what? You're talking to the dead. So when you tell a person, when a person asks you, when a dead person asks you, literally, when a dead person asks you, so you can speak to the spirits and shit, you can speak to the dead, talk to the dead right now. You're speaking at a vibration that they'll never be able to get to. And you're appeasing your higher self. That's how you feed your higher self. That negative shit, such as the N-word, being called a bitch. When you understand bitch came from bitch, bitch came from the dramatic word bitch, which means witch, which meant the great mother. And you look at forgot her fucking name again. The goddess over witches that all witches pray to. When someone calls you a bitch, tell them thank you. Kill their ego. Because once you understand the spell, you understand how to manipulate it for your own gain. That's what I'm talking about, manipulating for your own gain. I'm talking about higher level shit. I'm not talking about doing a ritual to get some fucking money. How about you work on yourself in the aspects that you need to work on to become more abundant and more prosperous, have more prosperity and abundance in your life based on working on yourself. Because this is how this shit works. As you're aligning yourself, as you're empowering yourself and invoking that energy, the energy invokes and links to the most powerful aspects that are going on in your life. Similar to when they say when you pray, the universe only understands frequencies. So if you are in a downtrodden mindset and everything's falling apart and everything's hurting and you crying and Jesus help me, all the universe feels, all the universe directly sees is, all they do is feel the vibration of you're sad. It doesn't understand sad, happy, all that shit. That's human. That's the human's part. That's the human party. That's the humanity. That's all it under fucking says. So the level that you're vibrating at is the same. They're all on the same tier. Anger, happiness, sadness, all that shit's on the same wavelength. That's at different cues. So if you sit here and say, oh, I need $1 million, and you saying it outside and you in a box in between an alley somewhere, all the universe resonates is, oh, they are feeling a certain type of way. They must want more of that. So it's going to give you more of that. It's going to give you whatever you are. It isn't giving you, it's going to give you what you want based on where you're at. So in order to maintain it, it must stay in that space. So the reflection on this lower level, when we're talking about vibration and correspondence on that pole, you're on the lower half of that pole in this realm. So everything that was used to create this realm, the chaos that was used to create this shit, has to be maintained at that same vibration. Because if it don't, it falls apart. It must be maintained at this same vibration or it falls apart. So there must be a Jesus at this level. There has to be an Allah at this level. There has to be a noble Drew Ali. There has to be a Hebrew Israelite. There has to be these things at this level for this level to exist. At this level, the negative aspect, which would be racism, has to exist at this level, or guess what doesn't happen? This level ceases to exist. The attention is lost. Therefore, the the light cannot be sustained at this level. So your friends and family members that have spent their entire life tithing to Jesus and getting minimal results from Jesus. They get that job at McDonald's making $12.50 an hour, and now they got enough money to go get a car during tax season because their sister had kids and they don't have kids. Hey, you can claim one of my kids because I only can claim 2 of them. All I need is $500. They must maintain that mentality at this level for it to exist. So anything that's against that, that's when that cognitive dissonance kicks in. That's when that cognitive dissonance kicks in. That's when that anxiety kicks in. You're vibrating at a higher level. Therefore, the shit that has stayed stagnant for so long is starting to uproot. The moment that you start moving forward in your life, everything is going to start shaking. Everything starts to shake. Everything starts to lose its hold. It starts to lose its balance. It starts to lose its focus. That's where this level, that's what this realm is about. This realm is of, remember, addiction, exploitation, trauma, and images. That's every level. Every level has a different, every level that you're going to rise to is going to have a different set of addictions, a different set of exploitations, a different set of spells, a different set of things that you're going to have to learn from. But since you're moving faster, and that's what I was talking about that's what I'm talking about, you're going to get to a level where certain shit ain't even going to resonate with you anymore, such as we talked about earlier, the Lizzo situation. You can look down as a guy like, these niggas do that shit all the fucking time. Who that? Who's that? Oh. That nigga stay in the news. You look at it from a higher level. Because the elitists of this realm, that's how they move. Because they've made themselves in the image of you. That's the exoteric. They took all of the text and they made themselves you. Based on their understanding. True factoid, you will never, on this level, be anything more than what you are right now. In the physical manifest of yourself, you will not be anything more than what you are at this point in time where you're at right now. Nothing worth wild. And I say that in the aspect of they're going to see you as exactly what they're comfortable of seeing you as. Because anything outside of that, the reason that they get so angry, the reason that they get so upset, the reason that they get so sad and they get all these emotions, their emotions go rampant, is because when you start healing yourself, they lose their tie. They lose their tether to you. When you start healing yourself, they lose that ability to be able to feed upon you. That's what's happening at this fucking time. During this cleansing period, there's no such thing as coincidence. Remember, there's no such thing as fucking coincidence. The reason that it's raining right now, raining is a symbol of cleansing. The water washes away everything, but it also makes the ground fertile for more growth. So in your life, it's time for you to grow. As you tap into your inner self, you start understanding the sinking of your thoughts to everything that's happening around you. So the reflections change. So as you're going to a higher level of yourself, that's how those reflections will change. Because at the level when I first awakened, all I was about was my people. Black people this and black people that. Got to get my people right, man. Got to get my people on top. Got to get my people in this energy, man. They got to be on this vibe. They got to be on this level with me. Now, I'm like, oh, you like being a nigga. More power to you. You like being a nigga. More power to you. You like being a bad bitch. More power to you. You like popping them pills to get rid of your pain. More power to you. You like looking like a butterfly with them long ass eyelashes. More power to you. It looks good on you. You like putting on them hoodies. More power to you. You were balding when you were 16. Now you want to go get what is that shit called? An installment and get yourself waves that you always wanted. More power to you. Basically, in you embracing yourself, none of that shit matters. As you're embracing your higher, you'll start noticing certain shit don't matter. You'll be like, that shit don't matter. This shit don't fucking work for me. Why this shit don't work for me? Because you ain't meant to be on that level no more. That ain't you no more. That ain't you no more, boo-boo. Stop letting that be you. Stop allowing the thoughts of others to take you out of the aspect of deprioritizing or stop giving yourself on a stage to others for external validation of your power and your greatness. Remember, a dog don't need to know how to be a dog, and inherently already knows that. Fish don't know how to swim, it swims in water. You don't need anybody to tell you that you're black. You're not black. You're something more. By allowing somebody to compartmentalize you into a section of yourself to lock you down, to compartmentalize. Remember, once you are encapsulated into a section, or once you are locked into a certain image or a certain standard, that's what you become. You are what you think. So if I tell you that your history starts in slavery and I give you every image of slavery, all you think about is slavery. And then you'll get other people, you'll get the most lunatic motherfuckers. And the word behind lunatic, you'll understand these words are words of spell. So a lunatic is somebody that is in the dark and has not exposed themselves to the light. That's where they got the whole werewolf myth from, where on the full moon, that's when they change it to their truer form. A lunatic, Luna being moon, and a tick meaning during that tick. I took that tick in the interpretation of a tick being something that sucks away. So a lunatic is a person that sucks away from that is sucked away by their dark. They're sucked away. Their light is being sucked away to be kept into the dark. So you'll hear somebody. So I think everybody's heard that shit. But you'll hear somebody say, if it wasn't for slavery, we wouldn't know Jesus. And then I can say the same exact thing, and I'm not agreeing with them. That's that correspondence. There's two different sides of that same pole. Yes, without slavery, you wouldn't know Jesus. Yeah, see, you want to see without slavery, we wouldn't understand Jesus. We need to be thanking these white people. From my side, from the facts, you are right. If we never got into this point, we would not have been brought into the understanding of the esoteric form of ourselves, which is Jesus. We wouldn't be knocking at this vibration, trying to fight every single day about it. But since I come from a higher understanding, and motherfucker tell me Jesus isn't real, I be like, so you ain't real? Because Jesus is the allegory for the Christ consciousness within each and every one of us. So on this level, as I just said, see how everything came back around? For me to say Jesus isn't real on the higher level of myself, I must let go of the imagery that they created Jesus as down here in order to invoke what Jesus truly is, or the Christ or the Christos energy really is, which breaks down to the pineal gland or your third eye or her root, your hero. In order for me to understand that, to step into my higher self in my understanding, the as above, so below aspect, and to sit on my earth, to sit on my world, to better understand it, to understand the archetype for Satan, which is Saturn, which are the rings, or the Sabbath day, the day before the sun rises, Sunday, the day before I rise, I must understand the night before to rise to the next day. I understand the dark that I came from. So as I rise, I create and understand the angles of light that I'm able to control. Key aspects, key shit. To be stuck in a box is the worst feeling ever. To be put in a position to be fighting for something that ain't worth fighting for, you can't look at the signs. When you begin to awaken, that's how those layers start to shed. Those layers start to shed. You have to allow those layers to shed. You have to allow those things to come to the surface. All that shit that's inside of you is going to be shown to you perpetually over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until you put in that fucking work. You got to put in the fucking work. A lot of us don't like putting in the fucking work because it requires us taking in the responsibility. That's what it boils down to. Responsibility and accountability. You got so used to somebody doing something to you, or what would you do? How would you know how to move without the shit that's going on and happened in your life? How would you know what to judge from? How would you know how great you are if you never saw how bad off you can be? If you didn't have an example. Gods and goddesses, chaos and titans, occultist, that occult mindset, that occult mind muscle that you're working on, your example is in front of you every single day. The longer you take in your life in outward reflecting, the longer you take in this outward reflection of yourself to others and not understanding the reflection, not tapping into that shit, is the longer that you're going to be miserable. Misery enjoys company. Misery enjoys company. The mundane is a child of misery and complacency. Mundane is a child of misery and complacency. Misery being the feminine aspect, being the wisdom of applying that wisdom of where you're at, and the complacency being the knowledge of where you're at. Counterpart put together, they come together, masculine and feminine. The electricity, the magnet, the poles come together on that same correspondence. In between those two correspondence becomes mundane. You cannot take yourself to any higher level thinking about the mundane effects. You're thinking about mundane shit. Yeah, I want to get a new car. I want to get this new house. I want to get this new shit. I want to, and then you go up one further, which actually, you're actually not going higher, you're actually going lower. Yeah, man, I want to put a spell on somebody. I want to hex somebody. You're still in the mindset of your captors. You're still in the mindset of your oppressors. You're doing exactly what they want you to do, because that gives them their reflection of you. It gives them more, it empowers their truth. They want no more. There's motherfuckers in your life that want no more from you than to be that animal, than to be that savage, than to be that person or that being that they can relate to. Because if they can relate to you, they can feed from you. Because you're a familiar fruit. You're the root and you're the sun. What you use to nurture your garden, what you use to nurture your roots, and you shine light upon with that knowledge to invoke, to grow your tree, to grow your garden, that fruit either becomes familiar or it becomes strange. If it's strange to you, it benefits others. If it's familiar to you, it's strange. If it becomes strange to others, that's your bountiful harvest. That passage that's in the Bible where it says, the Lord shall prepare a table in front of me with all of my glory for my enemies to see. You're the God creating that table in front of your enemies. The lower versions of yourself, the lower reflections of yourself. Those are the things that you're using as you're building yourself on your spiritual intelligence, as you're coming higher into yourself. That's the table that you're setting. It doesn't matter what the fuck they think. It doesn't matter what the fuck they feel. It doesn't matter what the fuck they want. It doesn't matter what the fuck they need. All that matters is what you need, what you want, what you're striving for. Once you start understanding, letting go of the needs and the wants based on the mundane aspects, everything else falls into place and to take you into your higher self. But you got to put in that work. One of the biggest things that we fear is actually putting in that work, actually putting in that time, actually putting in those moments in our lives that benefit us on a higher level. You reach a stage in your life where you start seeing everything. It's called calcinization, by the way. It's a spiritual alchemy term. That's when you got to start getting into these books. The stage in our lives when we start seeing the tricks, the illusion, the misleading beliefs, and the harmful habits of our egos. And we put them aside so we can finally explore what lies underneath. A lot of the times we base our entire premise and our entire existence. We've been based our entire existence on something outside of us validating us. And that goes into that thing about the self-validation. You go into this aspect of yourself where you're living on high alert. You live in constant defense. You can't move in offense because you're living in constant defense because you haven't learned how to create your defense. The best way to create your defense is submitting, which is what we did when we came into these forums to understand. You submit to the attributes of the ideal of what you're supposed to look like according to them, whether it makes them comfortable or uncomfortable. And that helps you move, and it helps you learn, and it helps you move into offense. Your power, your magic. You don't need to believe in magic or do rituals or put yourself into that thought process. At the lower levels, as you're growing and you're learning, yes, it's important to learn the rituals. It's important to do the work. It's important to put in that work. But after a while, similar to you hopping onto a bike and you learning how to ride a bike with training wheels, eventually the training wheels come on. But there's a process. This is the thing a lot of us get lost in our reflections. There's a process that comes from everything from what you see to what you hear to what you know. It's based on how far you've opened your mind. Most of the times when we get into a certain aspect of things and we meet people or other entities or other beings, other gods, other goddesses, whatever you may want to call them, they're speaking from a higher level. It seems so euphoric, and we can't help but want to get there. You hearing that is the halfway point. You hearing that information, that shit resonated with you, that's your halfway point. That's your setup. You engage that energy by saying, damn, that shit was amazing. I want to hear more. You open yourself up like a child when you sat in the classroom, you were a sponge, you absorbed everything. That's that mentality that we got to get back into. The mentality of learning as a child. Approaching each one of these levels as a child, as a newborn. That newborn essence, that new childlike wonder, that childlike excitement, that laughing as we become interacting with it. Similar to when I remember when I was little and I used to be outside, I used to play with the dragonflies all the time. I used to play with the butterflies, I used to be outside, had a whole motherfucking, the hell's the name of that damn movie? It's not Page Master. The Land Before, no. The Never Ending Story. I had a whole never ending story in my backyard. I had a whole imagination of the never ending story in my backyard before I even knew what the fucking never ending story was. So when I got to the point to where I was actually able to see a movie like the never ending story, I was like, damn, why does that excite me? Why does that get to me? Why does it make me feel a certain way? These things that are happening in your life that make you feel that positive, that they give you that sense of euphoria, they're connecting to memories of your past. A lot of us have a problem in tracing our subconscious. Tracing your subconscious is like tracing your house in the dark. Tracing your subconscious is like tracing a space in the dark. Similar to when, if you first started driving and you drove during the day, so you knew everything was during the day, but when it was nighttime, you're like, I don't know the roads at night. The same markers ain't the same. Everything is still there. You just have to tap in to your sight of seeing it. And the best way to do that is to map. That's how you map your subconscious. Similar to mapping the landmarks that are in your life, the way you map your subconscious is by the things that bring you the most joy, understanding them, but also for us to understand the traumas, the things that brought us the most pain, we mask with the most joys. Your subconscious does everything. Remember, your subconscious takes it. Your eyes taking everything backwards and retract the information. So when you have a dream and you see like skulls, death, zombies, witches, all this other, you start seeing shit like that in your dreams, or you start seeing things that you didn't want to see. Even if, similar like last week when I talked about like when a child sees like when a child's being abused in the home, they always revert it to as a monster. They won't say it's their dad or their mother or their brother or whoever family member. They'll say it's a monster under their bed. There's a monster in their closet. There's a monster that always comes into their room at night and tells them, shh, no one else can see me. Your ego, as you're learning yourself, you're building defenses to block yourself, to block that memory, to actually start repressing that memory. So your subconscious has that, your subconscious has all that shit recorded. But what your subconscious has done due to your ego over and over again, creating these images in your mind to defend from it, it's locking it away further and further and further. So the closer you get to it in your subconscious, in your dreams, the scarier that shit looks. A good book to read is The Dogon Ancient. Let me look it up so I don't get that shit wrong. I don't like giving y'all the wrong information. I like giving y'all the right information. A good book to look into. Couple of good books to look into. Higher Consciousness, Shadow Work of the Sacred Space, The Secret Power of Breathing, Tantric Breathing. We might get into that. And a super good book. I might read something out of this one. Most of these books that I get, I have a membership on Scribe. It's like $8.99 a month, but it's like the best fucking shit on the fucking planet because it has all the PDFs. It has almost every PDF of every hard to find book. And I set a book on the sex lecture. I was talking about the alchemical body. The alchemical body, a lot of the Tantra books that I got a lot of the information from, the reference points in order to build upon for my lectures. I get a lot of that shit from Scribe, and I read over that shit over and over and over again. I love taking in new information because once you, the butterfly effect, once you touch the butterfly, it changes. It's similar to like when you're taking this information. Once I disperse the light and I bring light to it and I go back and read it, I can see something different. That's the truth about knowledge. Now that's why knowledge is so infinite. The same thing with you. The deeper that you go inside yourself, every time you wake back up from your meditation, every time you come back to this realm, into your physical self, you're different. So that child that your mother knew and your father knew and your friends knew, that person no longer exists. The only time it exists is in their mind. The you that exists right now only exists to you until you lay down, go to sleep, and you wake up. Guess what? You're a new person. Because every single day you should be fucking learning. For every day you don't learn is a day that you die. Ancient Kemetic proverb. But let me read the introduction to this book. This book, Sacred Symbols of the Dogon, is the second in this series. It follows a 2006 volume titled The Science of the Dogon, another good book, decoding the mystery of decoding the African mystery tradition, which examines the cosmology of the modern day African tribe called the Dogon. Although the science of the Dogon focuses primarily on the tribal myths and cosmological symbols of the Dogon, it also documents many of the consistent resemblances between Dogon and mythological keywords and symbols of those of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic language of the Meta Nature. We're going to get into a page of this real quick. Y'all lying out there? Everybody good? Cool. Everybody good. And we're reading. And why is that shit so long? Wait. Okay, I'll stop. Okay, there it is. Wait, I think I just did something backwards. And go there, and go there, and go there. There. Basically, in this book, what they did is they took the symbol of the Dogon, was one of the ancient tribes that did all the prophesizing, similar to the Mayans, and they took it from the esoteric standpoint. It's one of those books that are from the esoteric standpoint. But the thing about this knowledge and all the fragments of every word that it is in them, it's esoteric for them to understand how to move and how to better understand you. So the more they read it, the more they understand you. Thus the separation of you understanding you. But when you read it, it unlocks something within you. All right, I'm going to start with chapter 2. Science and the structure of matter. Before we begin to discuss the relationship of mythological symbols to the structure of matter, we should take a few moments to review the structure of matter as science knows it. Today, we learn about the component elements and the forces of matter through the science of astrophysics, which is the study of the universe and how it was formed. Astrophysicists formulate theories, conduct experiments, and use mathematical models to infer what the universe might have looked like at the time of its formation and what might ultimately look like the time of its demise. Astrophysics includes the study of major concepts and forces that govern the universe, such as light, time, mass, gravity, acceleration, as well as how these concepts forces interact. The craziest part about each one of the things that they just said, they correspond with the 7 Hermetic laws: light, time, mass, gravity, and acceleration. Light in the aspect, from the esoteric standpoint, is understand how fast something moves. That's the correspondence. That's going into the correspondence of vibration and everything and vibration. Also, that's the first thought process about with light, talking about the light that you take in or the information that we take in, which is light, which is energy that we take in into our mental, into our minds, that we redistribute as what we've seen next. That's what we see next. The mind is all, everything is mental. From the dark, from your mind, the dark space. Your subconscious is the sunken space. Anybody tells you stay out of the sunken space, you need to get into your sunken space. That aspect of it to itself on that level, from the dark comes the true light. basing everything on the base of the true light, which is everything. Your thoughts are light. Your words are light. Your thoughts and your words are the light that you produce from your mind. So if your mind is constantly kept in trauma of something that happened to you when you were 6, and you keep repeating based on the trauma, you're only going to continuously repeat on the trauma mentally, because psychologically you have went so far away from the trigger, understanding the trigger of the trauma, that it's now masked with the very trauma itself. It's now masked whatever you put in front of it. Your ego gave you a defense. I remember till this day, I don't like the Cowboys. Don't like the Cowboys. I remember during my first transition period, my first little transition, my first awakening, I remembered why I didn't like the Cowboys. I had a homeboy, his name was John Flores. Me and him in the 3rd grade didn't like each other. We got in a fight on the playground. It was a winter night. It was a winter day. We got in a fight on the playground. I had, what coat did I had? Some coat my mom bought me from the store. But I remember we got in a fight. Our first altercation was that he had on a Cowboys starter jacket. Got in a fight with him, ripped his jacket. I was like, yeah. Unknowingly, I'm going to say unknowingly. The unknowingly is my marker. Unknowingly, in the 4th grade, another dude, I didn't like him so much, still don't remember his name now. He had on Cowboys jacket. Got in a fight with him. Fast forward, I didn't like the Dallas Cowboys. I took every archetype of what I didn't like about these people that like the Dallas Cowboys, and I equated it to the Dallas Cowboys. Until long enough, everything that I saw that is now about the Dallas Cowboys, I can equate to anybody that I know, since I created it in my own mind, my reality. Everybody that I know that likes the Dallas Cowboys fits the archetype of the shit I don't like about people. Stuck on themselves, arrogance, stuck on not changing, not giving up on some shit. Most of these motherfuckers are Cowboys fans. In my reality, in my mind, in my truth. Don't matter how anybody else feels about it. That's in my reality, my mind, and my truth. That's how I use to overcome and submit to the attributes. That's how I use that. I submitted the attributes of Cowboy fans to what I don't like about those type of people. Since I understand that, I got a brother love him to death that is a diehard Cowboys fan. I got a sister that I've known ever since grade school. She's a diehard Cowboys fan. But since I understand the balance of both sides of that corresponding pole, I know that it wasn't the Cowboys that I didn't like. It was the people at that time that were lovers of the Cowboys or Cowboys fans. It's what they represent. The Cowboys represented me at that time. That's shadow work. That's understanding your mental. That's when you break down into your mental. Once you break a tether like that and a major breakthrough to yourself, one, it's a major breakthrough to yourself. So the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning or whenever you had the moment, look at the mirror and be like, we just overcame some shit because we the baddest motherfuckers in the world. We the baddest motherfuckers in the world. Big up yourself. That's how you romanticize your fucking day. You just had a fucking breakthrough. You didn't have to go spend the $750 and the $350 an hour to go talk to a psychiatrist. The only reason I know that is because I have that credential. You didn't have to go to somebody else to tell them your problem for them to give you that answer. Nothing's free. You just got to pay attention. Nothing's free. You just got to pay attention. But going into that aspect of that, time, we understand time on the higher vibration. That's what you saw in a lot of these movies when they were talking about, like, if they talk about hell, like you go to hell, hell compared to life on earth is, hell is like 5 minutes in hell. 5 minutes in hell. 5 minutes in hell is like 5,000 years. 5 minutes on earth, 5 minutes in hell is the equivalent to 500 years on earth. As you're going to your highest self, the correspondence of time doesn't exist for you. So the amount of time that it takes you to do something is going to be different than the amount of time it takes me to do something based on the level that you come into. What you have to understand is releasing from the humanity part and the ego. Remember, it's very important to kill the humanity and ego part to understand that all that matters is your alignment. Because if you look at it like, if I tell you it took me, and it didn't take me 20 years, but if I tell somebody it took me 20 years to get to the level that I'm at now, the only thing that a person is going to think is, man, I don't think I have that much time. How can I do it faster? It ain't about the faster. And at this point in time, I hate when it signs out a PSA. But that's okay. So we're going to have a nice little quiet moment. But yeah, taking that aspect into yourself and going into your higher self and the higher levels, time is not an aspect for you. It's about divine alignment. On this level, time must exist. Remember, on the levels that are now beneath you or that are going to become beneath you, you start understanding the correspondence of those levels. You start understanding the correspondence of those levels and why they need to exist at that level, because it's moving at a slower rate. The aspect of mass and gravity and acceleration, as well as these concepts, forces interact. The prevailing scientific theory used to describe the information of the universe is, of course, the Big Bang Theory, which postulates that the universe started out as an infinitely condensed ball of matter. Some unified impulse, which the ball ruptured into the explosion of a super hot primordial matter. Anytime you hear primordial in any of these books, it's talking about you. It's talking about what you are made of. When you understand these things, like when you hear primordial and then you go into the myths, when you start studying myths and then you start listening to, when you start hearing they talk about the primordial substance or the dark substance or this dark mass, they're talking about your melanin. They're talking about you. The same way we use stories, the very important thing about myths and storytelling, the art of storytelling was to tell a story within a story. So it was able to tell you about you in a way that you could remember it, so it locks into your subconscious. Religion, the thing that they call religion in science, they were one. Religion and science were one. We were at that level. We were androgynous at the higher levels. And that's another thing about when you come down on this level, click, 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 come down. That's why on this level, the things that exist on this level, remember how I said, the things that exist on this level have to exist on this level for this level to be sustained. So when you see the LGBT, the alphabet community, as we would call them, the alphabet community, they are a reflection of an imbalance on this level. They're a glitch made for they're created at this level. Because at the higher levels where it's androgyny, where we're all one, when the masculine and the feminine aspects are coming together, as you came down, you are vibrating at a, so, okay, we do it like a funnel. As above, so below. So everything came down at that vibration and it slowed down at this space right here, at this apex. Here's the apex of where it slowed down at. That's the ceiling for this realm. So everything as above, so below must have a counterpart down here that matches what's up there. But it's all backwards. So in that separation of it being backwards, whereas everything came back together and formulated on this level, it took on the aspects of its correspondent above it for you to understand it. So the white people that you don't like, they're your kids. Everything down here is your kid. Everything down here is your child. And we've been taught you can't learn shit from a child, but you learn most of the shit from a child. You don't learn who you are until you have a kid in most aspects, until you had to take care of them. Because they're aspects of you from a lower, they're aspects of you in raw form. They're you in raw form. That's the aspect of what a child is. I know that from experience from watching my nieces and nephews all the fucking time. And I look at them like, damn it. I remember one day my nephew, when he was doing his potty training, he would just, if he didn't have a pull-up or a diaper on, this little god nigga just be standing there in a corner and he just start peeing. You just start there and start peeing. Just after a while, he just starts smiling. I'm like, the fuck are you doing? I would tell my sister, your son just peed on the floor. Oh my God, you didn't stop him? I didn't know what the fuck he was doing. But yes, everything is a reflection of you, basically, in that outfit or matter of time to you. Everything is simply just a reflection of you. A lot of the times, that's where we're getting stuck at. As I said before, we're getting stuck at. We have to start looking at these things as from the esoteric standpoint, which is you. The exoteric standpoint was based on control. So the distraction controls your attention. That's why distractions are used to control your attention. And then they give you, based on this level, their understanding of contradiction. On this level, everything is separated. The divine unity that you're searching for, I want to make that divine unity of my people, you're never going to find until you unify yourself. That I want to bring my people together will never happen until you unify yourself. Until you have fully unified yourself, the unification of people around you will never happen, because everything around you is a reflection of things that you need to work on. They go hand in hand. Two sides, same coin. Unity on one side, disarray on the other side. They go together. For a lot of us, yeah, we get stuck on that very aspect of, ooh, that looks good. We get stuck on the aspect of ourselves being locked into, I want to make things better for everybody. What you're telling yourself is, how can I make things better for me? That's what you should be telling yourself. How can I make things better for me? How can I shift myself? You want better, guess what you'll do? You'll do better. I don't know what I'm about to play right now. Oh, this is gonna be a good one. I got some bells in the back. All right, cool. But yeah, the aspect into yourself for that infinite immortality that you want in your life. The greatest thing that you're going to find in your life are going through the prosperity of understanding yourself. Everything is a reflection of that, of what's within you. Everything is a reflection based on what's within you. So that life that you dream of, you got to put it in your mind first. But you have to remove what you thought you knew and what you would want is based off traumas of what you didn't want to remember. You'll build your entire life, your entire house, your entire life will be built. Your entire physical life, physical manifestation, and physical environment is based off things that you use as a defense to step away from the things that you don't want to look at anymore, don't want to deal with. A lot of times we'll get into this aspect where we'll get lost in, there's a difference between the nonchalant not caring and the nonchalant compassion. I've come into nonchalant compassion. Me having a nonchalant compassion gives me the divine ability to say everything that I want to, everything that needs to be said at the time that it needs to be said. It's not the right time. It's not the right time. I had a whole conversation with somebody earlier, and they said their whole life is going upside down. They feel like they're losing control. And I told them, your life's not going upside down. You made a decision. This is the wave behind your decision. You must allow all of it to come to what it's doing. You spent your entire life pleasing others and making sure everybody else was good and stifled yourself and left yourself unbalanced. The energy you are feeling is all of that shit coming to the surface. How you feed it and how you feed upon it are the keys to you going to the next level. All the person could say was, you're right. I just don't like feeling this way. I was like, the vulnerability is the only way that that shell, that cocoon cracks. Only in your weakness can you break free. Remember, their arrogance is your way out. The more arrogance that you hear from somebody, the more weak. That's similar to saying the loudest person in the room usually is the weakest. That's that same thought process. The things that are more abundantly being shown to you in such a chaotic manner, those are the weakest points for which you can go through. The things that bring the most anger is a subsequent factor that cannot be controlled. You cannot control your emotions. You can control your response or your feelings to an emotion, but you cannot control your emotions. That's why the masculine aspect is the feeling or the knowing what to do, with the feminine aspect of the emotion or the wisdom. On the esoteric standpoint, you get lines in the Bible that say the woman should be silent. Or you understand, once you start understanding that aspect, you start seeing like, why? That's why at every turn in every one of these religious texts, based on an esoteric standpoint, demonize the woman. Eve ate the apple. That's why they have periods and all this shit and all these cycles. And then they give you that belief. You're like, well, that's why we have this and that's why we have this. And then the psychosis builds into, you'll hear somebody say, I had to ask the Lord to forgive me for being raped because I was showing my body in some way for them to attack me. That is the most asinine shit you'll ever hear in your fucking life. That's why that shit, to them, that shit sounds normal, because they're vibrating out of, they have to take in knowledge at a lower vibration. It must sound so slow to them, because that's the only light that they can understand, because they're coming from something's broken inside of them. They haven't done any healing. So you can feel attacked over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. You can feel mad attacked all over again. There's going to be a point when you come into your shit where you're going to feel mad attacked. And the most attacks that are going to happen to you are going to be attacks that you're attacking yourself. I'm not feeling it the way I need to feel it. I don't need to see it right. That's based on the traumas, based on what you already been through. That's based off that religious part where when you were having that alpha, you're having an unconscious alpha moment. That moment when you're saying, why am I not feeling it the way I'm supposed to be feeling it? That's teaching you something. That's teaching your patience. That's teaching you need to dive in further. That's teaching you need to slow your ass down. This ain't about feeling. This ain't about thinking anymore. It's about feeling it. This is about learning how to tap into your intuition and trust your intuition. There's a difference between it's a difference between moving based on your traumas and moving based on your intuition. Similar to me saying the story about the Dallas Cowboys and not liking the Dallas Cowboys, and my trauma allowed me, when I was activating off of my traumas, the reason I didn't like the Dallas Cowboys is because that was a defense from understanding I didn't like certain people. So if I didn't understand the type of people that I didn't like, I steady attract that archetype of person into my life, because I don't understand why that came to me in the first place. That's similar to ain't no good men, all these bitch ass niggas. The reason you keep attracting bitch ass niggas is because somewhere inside you a bitch ass nigga. Your masculine aspect of yourself is, you don't understand your masculine aspect of yourself. Somewhere it's out of alignment of you understanding the masculine energy that's within inside of you, that gender, that law of gender to yourself. So what you think a man is based on what you have seen, it was been put into your mind over and over again, repeatedly, is what you're going to be looking into. Like, damn. The same thing with, man, these bitches ain't nothing but gold diggers and thoughts and hoes. They do anything for some money. So guess what you will attract? There's more of the same. And then you will become more of the same. You become what you hate or you become what you love. You become what you hate or you become what you love. So if you hate white people, they racist, they devious, they thieves, they all this stuff, you start to become them. You start to become the appetite. Your appetite is fed by the attributes of what you hate. So you must see it or become it in order to appease your ego. So everything must be seen against that light. So you must, so this sustaining this light bullshit that they put into our mind, basically with the whole Jesus narrative has many, many layers. That bright light that is sustained, a sustained light, the only way a light sustains itself is based on the power that is put into it. The very metaphysical representation of this is you're the only one with a soul representation by the sun. That is your soul, or the moon and the sun, both two parts of your soul, the yin and the yang, the dark and the light. Therefore, that's why the sun is at another angle and the moon simply reflects light from the sun. That why when it reflects and comes back around, that's why you still can see the moon in the sky, even in the daytime. It doesn't set. It doesn't set. It's just that the angle has changed. Our ancestors had that understanding. That's what you need to tap into, that understanding. The more you start understanding these things, and you start diving deeper into these things, the cleaner that mirror gets for that reflection, the cleaner that mirror gets. A lot of the times, that's what we get. That's what we're getting stuck at. You getting stuck on based on somebody else's thoughts, somebody else's interpretations, somebody else's life, somebody else's happenings. Man, they getting all the girls. Man, they getting all the money. They getting all the bags. Okay. What are they doing to get the bags? What if they sacrifice themselves to? What are they sacrificing? Are you willing to sacrifice what they're sacrificing to get what they're getting? Negative and positive. Every cause has an effect, and every effect has a cause. That's the science. That's the whole fucking science. You can sit here and hate white people so much. But on this intellectual level, the things that you hate about them, they're just going to submit themselves to those attributes, unconsciously or consciously. In your life, you do the same shit. You'll submit yourself unconsciously to some attributes or some bullshit just to fit in somewhere. The emperor has no clothes. You're a well-dressed lie. The dead, they're well-dressed lies. They'll yell out their American trigger words. Americans. I'm an African American. I'm an American soldier. I fought for my country. I'm trying to get to that bag. And then you perpetuate a reality into your mind, into your existence, and for you to survive. I'm gonna bootleg the hell out of this shit till they go out of business. That ain't gonna happen. That little thought is stupid as fuck. This is why. Because that's what they're doing. They've been bootlegging your shit for decades. It's the end of another decade. When you gonna take your shit back? It's about to be the end of a decade. When you gonna take your shit back? They bootleg your shit all the time. They bootleg your symbols. They bootleg the swastika. They gonna start bootlegging. They've already bootlegged the Ankh. If you look at some of the damn movies that they do, they already bootlegged your fucking eye, your pineal gland. They already bootlegged that and made that the eye evil. They bootleg your shit. They bootleg your shit to take the power from it. Because since it's you're the source of all of this. We're the originals. They took your source of power. So they'll take your symbol, they'll demonize your symbol, they'll turn it around. They'll make it negative to you, positive. They'll make it positive for them, negative for you. You're the power source. Your attention goes into the symbol. So now your attention is on the symbol in the negative aspect of it, therefore it still has power. But you wouldn't know that. You would know that if you weren't so emotional. But this ain't for the emotional ones. For the very few emotional ones that are in attendance that are going to come into their sync and come into this information, by the time they get the information, they be like, damn, that's what my homegirl was talking about. That's what my homeboy was talking about. But for the ones that are on that frequency and understand that level, we just had an entirely epic build. The shit that you're understanding is only meant for you. It ain't meant for nobody else. If it was meant for everybody, we wouldn't have to have these conversations. This is what I mean about making that shit normal. The shit we talk about is normal to us. You're the devil in somebody else's story. Accept it and move on. You're not going to be liked by everybody. Accept that shit and move on. I'll lose family. I'll lose friends. I'll even lose a little bit of money. But at the end of the day, the motherfucker that I found that I'm never going to lose again is me. That's the biggest reflection mantra that you should use. At all costs, do not lose yourself in the level that you're going to. Where you're at and where you are going is above anything that you've ever experienced. Where you're about to rise to is on a level and an experience that nobody else can take from you. This is your divine right. This is your divine treasure, your wealth. Your knowledge is the wealth. Your knowledge is the gold. Whenever you look at them stories and the documentaries about alchemy, turning lead into gold, they were trying to turn themselves into you. They were trying to understand the substance that made you and make that and replicate it. You cannot be replicated and sustained on the level of the understanding where they're at. That's your divine alchemy. You cannot be recreated or duplicated on the level that is beneath you. The shit's beneath you. You are an elite. Thinking anything less than you being an elite, than you being the awakened, than you being the best, and this is in humility to yourself, knowing that about yourself will kill your fucking ego. The little bit, I'm talking about like the microplasm of ego and humanity that I have is in the caring and the self-care and the self-love and the self-validation and the self-reflection of myself. Anything outside of this micro measurement does not matter to me. This is my circle. Anything outside of this micro measurement of my circle does not matter to me. It doesn't carry any weight to me. That shit don't do shit for me. It can't do anything for me. What it eats doesn't make me shit. What it drinks doesn't make me piss. What it feels doesn't make me fucking happy, sad, cry. None of that shit. Being at that level, being at this level, is the level that's going to catapult you to the next levels. But you got to be willing to die first. Live amongst the dead. Arise into the living. Your divine rising is you awakening from the dead. Is you realizing that you're not like the others. Embrace that shit. That the amount of power that you wield and you understand that you're understanding to control, that's your shit. If you tired of the white man in your shit, holding you down, come on over to death row. Sit in that chair. Light that candle. Put that mirror in front of it. Sit there. Allow it to fry that humanity and that ego in your old self. Allow it to kill it all. Allow this knowledge to be the virus that kills that shit. Anything else? Civilized. Be the savage. Be the monster. Because when they talk about the monster, the demon, the monster, that evil shit, that's you. When they talk about shit coming to kill humanity, they're talking about you. Them motherfuckers studied the occult from the intellectual level, so they know how to speak that shit. They know how to speak that subliminal bullshit. You speak the same shit. That way, when you start hearing these things, and you start reflecting, you start understanding it more. When they talk about reptilians and monsters and shit coming to take over and it's going to destroy the earth, they're talking about you destroying this plane. Embrace that shit. That's how you take your power back. When they talk about making America great again, get yourself a MAGA hat. Put that shit on. Take in that energy. Because the only way to make this shit great is to destroy it all. The only way to make yourself the greatest is to destroy everything that ever held you back. To destroy all of the things that put you where you are at. There's a reason that we wore white in our funeral ceremonies. Because white represented ash. It represented the ending, the void of all color, the void of all life. So on this level, the most dominant will be the things that are the devoid of the most light. So that gives you that concept. From the dark comes the true light. So whenever you hear them, why can't we use the M word? Go ahead, I don't give a fuck. It's dead to me. I know what the fuck it means. So I can't wear wheat. Put that shit in your fucking head. It's dead to me. I know what the fuck I know. I know what the fuck I need for myself to go to the next level. You embrace it, it makes it negative. When they embrace it, it automatically becomes negative. Why do you think that? Because it's needed to propel you into the next level. We're so stuck on that holding on to shit that we want to hold on to shit. It was actually said in a movie that had nothing to do with fucking spirituality at all. Why Did I Get Married? That Tyler Perry movie. When, forget the nigga name. Michael J. White, that nigga. When he was saying, you so busy looking at what you've lost, holding on what you're losing, you don't understand what you fucking gained. Being so fucking busy, holding on to this civil rights bullshit, you don't understand that that shit is giving you a way out. That family member that no matter what you do, don't like your ass, it will subliminally say shit about you all the fucking time at every family fucking gathering, gave you your way to fuck out. That's how you set that fucking boundary. If that person's there and you guys are entertaining that shit, I'm not going to be there. You force that hand. That's how you win. Because you learn. Stop putting yourself in fucking situations that no longer are meant for you. All this shit that's angering you, learn from that shit. The realest reflections are the darkest and the most clarity, give you the most clarity. The biggest reflections give you that fucking clarity. Take you to that next fucking level. Will help you succeed in ways that you've never seen fucking possible. That shit starts in your fucking mind. Once you understand that everything starts in the spiritual, that highest vibration, and you click down into your mind, that's the next level of vibration of correspondence to that next level, to that physical, all this shit starts fucking changing. Just simply by yesterday, when I put together the last video ad I did for this lecture, I put rain and I put a storm in that bitch. Woke up this morning, it was raining and storming all fucking day. The entire fucking day, all I was saying is a perfect day for the fucking lecture. Because there's going to be a lot of fucking cleansing. It's a perfect day for the rituals. Because it's a day for fucking cleansing. And wouldn't you have it, it rained. That's your power. Either you unconsciously allow someone to feed upon your power to use it against you for their gain, or you consciously tap into your shit and use it to burn everything the fuck down. You gotta stop being scared of fucking death. Fear knows no bounds that love of yourself cannot overcome. Fear knows no bounds that love itself can overcome. You got to trust this process. Because if you don't trust the process, it shows that you don't trust yourself in some way. And that's a point where you need to work at. You have to be patient in coming into this. Because if you're not patient in the aspect of where it's coming into, guess what it's showing you? It's showing something that you need to be patient with. That's how you get in tune with your intuition. If you're feeling depressed or sad about something at a certain level that you're getting at, that's showing something that you have to look into. These are the keys of understanding yourself and getting in tune with that intuition. The trauma is the seal that you, as your priest or priestess self, put there to ward off the unworthy. The only unworthy is your lower self. As you step into your higher self, that's where when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But when the student is truly ready, the teacher disappears. Because you are the teacher and the student. That is the duality and the beauty of you. You are both, the yin and the yang, the light and the dark, the wild and the calm. You're both. To understand one, you must understand the other. To invoke one, you must evoke the other. Ain't shit else to it. Only thing else to it is disciplining yourself to be able to do it and step through them fucking walls, step through them fucking gates. As we gonna start getting deeper into the Gnostic text, I think I'm gonna start breaking down the Gnostic text next week. You have to be the anti-hero to understand the villain. You're the anti-hero. You're not quite the hero archetype for the hero. You're not quite the archetype of the villain. You're right there in between. That's your fucking gift. You work at your gift. All the treasures that you want, all the treasures that you desire shall be in front of your feet, right? Laid in front of your feet. That's that mindset of being royalty. That's that mindset of being that God. That's that mindset of being that elite. When you proclaim that level, you must live at that level. You must learn everything in that level to go to the next level. Anything outside of that is a distraction. Once you get to this level, everything that you, one thing that's been shown in a lot of these YouTube gurus and teachers, the only teachers that I acknowledge are the teachers that actually taught me to be a teacher. So when I give homage or I pay my respect, I give my homage, it's to the ones that taught me to teach and taught me to speak the way that I speak. So that'll be the Brother Panics, that'll be Bobby Hemmett, that'll be Phil Valentine, that'll be the David Blair, that'll be C. Freemanell, and countless others, because they taught me as an equal to the level that I would get to in my mind and my mental mindset would take me to that next level. Don't fall for the distractions because they show their arrogance at all fucking times to show you why you shouldn't follow them fucking asses anyway. But even listen to them. There was I think Jay said it in a song. It was like, even when you listen to me, you only listen to half of what you see because half of my shit's based on my own reality. That's a key. If you researching everything that you hear, if you research everything and go behind and do the research, you ain't got to worry about the other person, what they say. That shit will naturally fall off to what you don't have to listen to anymore. That's that key concept that we tend to get stuck off of and lost on. The key is to learn, apply, evolve. 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 Generate, operate, destroy. Generate, operate, destroy. Generate to operate to destroy the hidden and understand the hidden, to recreate based on the level that we're going to. That's why the moniker of Godical Alchemist was chosen to me, because that's what I constantly do. That's why the moniker and the name, my spirit name, became Lucifer Samados, because that's what I do. I'm that keeper on that crossroads in my life, in my paradigm. So my purpose in when I speak is to give you that balance in those crossroads, to help you tap into your desire to rise. It's more than just a title. You got to embody this shit. You got to allow that shit to possess you, because it's your power, it's your energy. That's what you are. Anything outside of that is motherfucking asinine. It don't fucking exist on this level. All that bullshit, that human shit, don't exist on this fucking level. All that ego derivative bullshit don't live on this level. That song, the Tyrese song Shame, I posted it on my Facebook. That took on a whole esoteric perspective to me in understanding myself. Every word of that song gave me a deeper insight on allowing my feminine energy aspect of myself to rise, and coming back home and coming back to the level of where I'm at in order for us to go to the next level. And I apologize for not trying to understand it sooner. But understanding that reflection and revolving, it comes back around to me for me to be able to do that. Those are the moments where you'll have the most enlightened moments. And the stronger ones, you'll never be able to explain. There's shit that's happened to me in the last 3 weeks that I cannot fucking explain. But I knew its purpose, and it's a purpose for it. There's no such thing as fucking coincidence. It's divine timing and alignment. As above, so below. I read. Get away from me. Shadow work of the sacred space. If I can find the page, because I do so much stuff, I be forgetting shit. As soon as I find it. Okay. Here it is. The presentation by Inky of the Holy Me to Ayana is a book. It's the story of Ayana. It was pieced together from clay tablets. It's in the University of Pennsylvania. It's the pairs of the opposites that can be understood as the light, consciousness, and the shadow, unconsciousness. When you read something into that nature of its aspects of itself, the light or the consciousness is your ego. The light consciousness is your ego. Somebody gave me a comment. The shadow is your unconsciousness or your subconscious brain. And then it goes further into Freud's description of the mechanism of the condensation in dreams can account for the overdetermination, the multiple possible meanings of dream content. That was in parentheses. The overdetermination of the mimesis play somewhat different and benefits the group of nature in the process. Instead of the patient and the analyst relying on interpreting the construction of the possible meanings of the dream content, and a mimesis play an entire group of participants deliberates on and accentuates those aspects to have to resonate to them for them personally. Instead of the mechanism of condensation, which may disguise the latent meaning of the dream, the images in a myth invoke multiplicity of meanings and interpretations to an entire group of participants, which are available in a simulation or rejection by the participants. Basically, that goes deep into the perception concept. Basically, what that goes into is to that aspect of yourself into perception. You're going to go through a healing stage on purpose. This is your stage of healing. This entire decade has been dedicated to you healing. Through this entire decade, we have been given every sign of our rising, from something as simple as Barack Obama and Michelle. I've said that before. Bobby Hemming said that, and I reiterated that because I got deeper into it. everything that is happening has a deeper spiritual meaning to it. Some things are just what the fuck they are based on this level. But the aspect of things like Barack and Michelle Obama, the presidency, that was showing you your rising in the 8 years was the infinite possibilities of your rising. If you come into your energy is now infinite and raising into that. So what we saw a lot of the times with like Michelle, you saw Michelle was on the front lines. She was actually one of the first female presidents that you actually saw on the front lines a lot. What we saw then, the other end of that, other side of that coin, was everything that we needed to see to walk away from this shit. That i.e. being Donald Trump. What they would accept, what is accepted in this realm has been shown to you. That's a divine spiritual intervention. What has been needed to be shown to you is not for you to fix it, but to understand that you're not part of this realm. Took the veil off, took the mask right off, and now you get to see it in your face. What are you going to do with the information? When are you going to rise? To close us out for the night, I know it's Friday the 13th, and we still got a good old 2 hours. It's a good time to prep your rituals, get your rituals together, take yourself into that aspect of yourself. Now everybody wants to hit on everything. People be so late to the party, but it doesn't matter. They'll see it later. If you have not tapped into my podcast, The God Hour, you missing out on a whole nother epic side of the information and the content. This week's was the eulogy, laying the rest and giving praise to what you learned at that stage, because you're at the next stage. That's the episode 6. New episode every Tuesday. New episode drops every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you subscribe to it, then it'll automatically let you know. What else did I want to say? At the top of the year, not at the top of the year, I'm thinking about February, end of February, beginning of March, putting together the first live in-person lecture. This is something that is near and dear to the compassion of myself. It's a great growing aspect of myself. It's different. It's a different energy to be on the screen talking to you guys, talking to everybody, but to be in the room head on with that energy is a whole nother vibe that I want to experience as I'm going further into the teaching of my teaching and building. My spiritual classes will be starting towards the top of the new year. Meditation, visualization, breaking down shadow work, breaking into your subconscious thought process. I will start that process. I've started that with a couple guinea pigs, a couple little test subjects, and that's taken off very well. So it's going to be a constant build on that, because you can't stay stagnant. You got to keep growing, got to keep rising. Outside of that, I do appreciate the support. I do appreciate the subscribing and my day ones ever since the day one when I first started putting out content and the ball started rolling. Libra Sun, she top on that. The ones that don't really ever say anything in the comments and then they come to me later in the comments, I appreciate you guys. But you got to break that fear of joining in and being interactive because we don't know what to touch on next or what vibration we on if we don't know the crowd participation. But I appreciate the support. The sex lecture is at like 500 views at this point in time. That is fucking phenomenal in itself. That was a very powerful lecture. Uh, before the end of the year, before the end of this decade, I'm putting together a very tying it all together because every one of my, if you look at the lectures and the corresponding content, all of it streams together because everything is everything. That is the art of dispersing that knowledge and speaking that light and that storytelling to give that story behind the story. So that's what I've been doing this entire time, giving you the basics before next year in the next upcoming lectures, we will start getting deeper into the subjects on the inner workings because if we don't understand what led us to it, how the hell we understand how to fix it? How we not understand how to fix it? Scratch that fix part. How are we going to understand how to work on it? And that's the whole process behind me putting together this content. But as always, I love y'all. We love us. Ashe.